Good morning to all. In this session, I am going to deal with the poem The Temple Bell, which was written by B. Sugathakumari. The poem was originally written in Malayalam under the name Ambalamani. Now, let's discuss about the writer of the poem B. Sugathakumari. Sugathakumari is an Indian poet and activist who has been at the forefront of environment and feminist movements in Kerala. She is influenced by her poet father's social activism and nationalistic fervor. As a founder of the Prakriti Samskrita Samiti, she has been in the forefront of environmentalist movement of Kerala right from its inception. Her concern for dissolute women has led to the establishment of the organization called Abhaya, of which she is the founder secretary. She has served as the principal of Jawahar Balabhavan and as the chairperson of Kerala State Women's Commission. Her early poems appeared under a male pseudonym in the Madhrubhumi Weekly. Coming to her works, Muthuchippi, which was published in 1961, was her first book of poetry. Padira Pookal, which was published in 1967, Ambalamani 1981, Kurinji Pookal 1987, Thula Varsha Pacha 1990, etc. Sugathakumari is a recipient of Sahitya Akademi and Kerala Sahitya Akademi Award. She also received Odakudal Award, Vailar Award, Vallathol Award, Ashan Prize and Saraswati Samman. In 2006, the nation honored her with the Padma Shri. Her poems are marked by their pure lyrical quality and their strong sense of social commitment. Love and sadness are the two dominant emotions in her poems. Ecological concerns, romantic agony, existential anguish, and the women's quest for love appear as important themes in her work. Coming to the poem, The Temple Bell Ambalamani is the title poem from Sugathakumari's 1981 collection. It mourns the loss of glorious past of a temple and pictures it in its inglorious present as it suffers the onslaught of negligence. The poem is a comment on the shallowness of contemporary life, expresses a sense of urgency in its plea to restore values that guided humanity in the past. The poem also uses many imagery, irony, metaphor and symbols to express her views. The poem was originally written in Malayalam under the name Ambalamani by Sugathakumari and it was translated into English by P.P. Ravindran. Now, let's move to the poem The Temple Bell. Alone I watch and brood over the temple Gopuram, now a shambles the sanctum bat infested, the ancient banyan tree crouching on its roots, the moss covered pond, the empty hands of broken lamp holders, and the quiet deep solitude. In the first stanza, the poet calls for our attention to a dilapidated temple Gopuram with its bat-infested sanctum sanctorum. So she is alone and she is watching the temple Gopuram. Now the temple is in a ruined condition and she also says that bat-infested sanctum sanctorum. Sanctum sanctorum means the innermost part of the temple. It is the place where we usually keep the idols. In Malayalam, it is known as Sri Kovil. Near the temple, we can see an ancient banyan tree. The ancient banyan tree that embodies the glory of the temple is crouching on its roots. Next, a temple pond is also attached with this temple. But what is the condition of the temple pond now? The temple pond, the water of the temple pond is moss covered. That means that water is unused. So it was covered with moss. Next line, the empty hands of broken lamp holders. Usually in temples we can see statues which are carved on the either side of the temple. In this temple also we can see so many statues. The statues of the lamp holders have no more lamps in their hands. This lamp shows the light of spirituality and knowledge. This temple is very old, so we can't see any lamps or lights in that temple. What about the condition of that temple? The place is very quiet. It's deep solitude there. When I stand contemplating them, suddenly inside the tinkling sound of a tender bell Who tarries here in this lonely gloom? The bell tolls to wake up whom? As I turn back in the dark, there hangs a bronze bell, its tinkling sound coming from no ringing hand, spilling over the wind. Next line. When I stand contemplating them, contemplating means thinking very seriously. When I stand contemplating them, suddenly inside the twinkling sound of a tender bell. So now the poet is watching and thinking very seriously about the present condition of the temple. Suddenly inside the twinkling sound of a tender bell. Suddenly inside from the temple, she is hearing the twinkling sound of a tender bell. The twinkling sound of a tender bell breaks the quiet and deep solitude of the temple. Coming to the next stanza, who tarries here in this lonely gloom? The bell tolls to wake up whom? In the second stanza, the poet Sukata Kumari is asking, who tarries here in this lonely gloom? Tarries means stay or waiting. Lonely gloom means it is very quiet there. So the poet is asking, who is waiting there in this lonely gloom? The bell tolls to wake up whom? The poet is again asking, for whom to wake up? This bell is making noise. As I turn back in the dark, there hangs a bronze bell, its twinkling sound coming from no ringing hand, spilling over the wind. As I turn back in the dark, there hangs a bronze bell. Suddenly she turns back and she notices a bronze bell which is hanging there. Its tinkling sound coming from no ringing hand, spilling over the wind. Nobody is there to ring that bell. It is the wind that is making the noise. The tinkling sound spilling over the wind from the bronze bell hanging in the front of Sanctum Sanctorum is the work of no human hand. Far away from the human touch, somewhat like a Munikanya in meditation, a broken temple bell that still chants, though in shattered tunes. That means the bronze bell is hanging like a Munikanya in meditation. The deplorable condition of the temple is compared to that of a Munikanya, a recluse who lives in isolation with no interaction with mankind. So, like a Munikanya in meditation, the bronze bell is hanging and it is far away from the human touch. A broken temple bell that still chants, though in shattered tunes. That means, though in shattered tunes means even though the tune from the bell is not clear, but the bell still chants. So that's the explanation for the second stanza. As I turn back in the dark, there hangs a bronze bell, its tinkling sound coming from no ringing hand, spilling over the wind, far away from the human touch, somewhat like a Munikanya in meditation, a broken temple bell that still chants, though in shattered tunes. Moving to the third stanza. And who is here to listen? A god turned to a mere rogue, or the rogues who come stealthily to carry away the god, or the horde of bats fluttering in the ruins, or the sulking night spirit. And who is here to listen? Again, the poet is asking, who is here to listen? A god turned to a mere rogue. The poet, with a tinge of irony, asks, who listen to these chants in shattered tunes? The god has turned to a mere rock. Or the rogues who come stealthily to carry away the god, or the horde of bats fluttering in the ruins, or the sulking night spirit. Will the rogues means vagabonds or criminals, who stealthily carried away the god, or the horde of the bats fluttering in ruins. That means the temple is now in the dilapidated or the ruined condition, and now it is the living place of bats. So the poet is asking, the horde of bats which is fluttering in the ruins, or the Wandering spirit or the sulking night spirit, that means wandering night spirit, listen to these chants for whom this bell is ringing. So in the third stanza, the poet is asking so many questions. These are the questions asked by the poet in the third stanza. Coming to the fourth stanza of the poem, this bell that now chimes in the wind was once cast in bronze in smelting heat and hung up above in the holy corridor by someone, his palms joined together in prayers, in times redolent with fragrant flowers and lamps shining bright, as the bell spread its radiance on the god all smeared in sandal paste. The bell that hummed songs at the touch of the wind whispered the excited people. Now in this stanza, the poet is speaking about the history of the bell. This bell that now chimes in the wind was once cast in bronze in smelting heat. That means the poet reminds us that the bell that now chimes in the wind was once cast in bronze in the smelting heat. That means this bell was made with high heat and hung up above in the holy corridor by someone. It was a precious gift of someone, maybe a devotee, and it was placed in holy corridor, that means God's corridor. His palms joined together in prayers, that means he placed that bell with prayerful arms, or he joined his palms together to pray. Coming to the next line, in times redolent with fragrant flowers and lamps shining bright, as the bell spread its radiance on the god all smeared in sandal paste. This line shows the prosperous year of the temple in the past. The fragrant flowers, bright shining lamps, and the sandal paste smeared god are all bright images of the past. This line shows that the temple had a good history. At that time, the sanctum sanctorum was smelled. Redolent means smelt with fragrant flowers. This bell spread its radiance on the gods smeared in sandal paste. But what is the condition now? But the condition of the temple now is very pathetic. The temple is in a dilapidated condition and the bell is also ruined. The bell that hummed songs at the touch of the wind whispered the excited people. That means the bell which hummed songs at the touch of the wind whispered the noise of the excited people in the past. In the ancient times, the bell makes a good sound, but now the bell makes only a low sound. So, in the fourth stanza, the poet describes about the prosperous history of the temple and also about the bell. The temple bell, its edges cracked, it still sings to the wind's touch, but who is there to listen now? How to hear this tingle amidst the market's din and the leaders roar in the public square? Who cares for this frail, feeble music amidst lusty, lurid songs sizzling away in movie theaters? The temple bell, its edges cracked. The bell which hymned songs at the touch of the wind now is cracked at its edges. Maybe the edges of the bell is now cracked. It still sings to the wind's touch, but who is there to listen now? But the bell is still singing at the wind's touch. But the bell still doesn't leave its zest for melody at the wind's touch. But who is there to listen now? So the poet is asking again and again, who is here to listen the sound of the bell? Coming to the next line, how to hear this tingle amidst the market's din and the leaders roar in the public square? Who cares for this frail, feeble music amidst lusty, lurid songs sizzling away in movie theaters? How to hear this tingle amidst the market's din and the leaders roar in the public square? The poet says that The frail song of the bell flutters amidst the market's din and the leader's roar. It cannot withstand the lusty, lurid songs sizzling away in movie theaters. We are now living in a busy world. The jarring tone of commercialization and scramble for power and the lurid songs of modern day movies, all of which are symbols of the materialistic world. All these sounds has made the sound of the bell feeble and frail. Who cares for this frail, feeble music amidst lusty, lurid songs sizzling away in movie theaters? So the poet is asking, who cares this frail and feeble song? The sound of the bell is very low. Nobody cares to hear the sound, but the bell is still singing.